Chapter, Maidenhead, Twyford and Reading. Platform 3, British Rail apologise for the inconvenience.
Hello, you're watching Everard Junction, and today will be the first of the series of videos I hope to be doing about the improvements to the station. The station has basically been in the same state for about 2 years. As you've seen, I'm already working on improving the building, but the platforms are in dire need of some additional detail and some extra work doing to them. So I brought the platforms down from the loft, and I'll be working on adding lighting, people, little waiting rooms and things like that. We'll see how far it goes. They're quite narrow, so I can't fit too much stuff on them. Also want to get some billboards on there if I can. So hopefully by the end of this they should look a hell of a lot more interesting. I've taken the canopies off. They're sitting on the floor, and they'll get some attention as well. They'll be holding the lighting. But for now I'm going to work on, first of all, just getting some of the paint sorted out for these platforms. These platforms are a mixture of ready-to-run items and plasticard. They have been modified quite extensively, so if we look underneath, what they actually are the plastic Hornby platforms that they've been making for the last 20 or 30 years. I had lots of these left over from the old layouts. You just clip them together and pop them down. They don't look that good, but as you can see, with a bit of effort they can be vastly improved. So I've put brick plasticard along the sides of them to get a much better sort of brick effect, and then at the top what I've done is I've filled in all of the joins and any bits that I weren't happy with, then filed and sanded it all down, and then I gave it a preliminary coat of paint. And that's pretty much how they've stayed since I've finished on them. They look pretty good, but they do need that extra level of detail. They are quite bland at the moment. So first thing I'm going to do is just hit the tops of them with a much better coat of paint. The grey is too light. They need to be a bit darker. I want to go for sort of the tarmac look, so I'll have quite dark platform colour and then a simple white line at the edge. Similar to various platforms that you would have seen towards the end of the 1980s. The whole yellow line thing was coming into force, but a lot of stations didn't have it during that time. I'm going to be using some acrylic paint, so I've just got this Woodland Signage white, and then in here I have somewhere, there we go, the Tamiya acrylic black paints. So I will mix those two in varying amounts, and should get a nice sort of tarmac colour. Okay, so I've finished painting the tops of the platforms. I've done a bit of extra painting as well. I've added in the white line, and I've also mixed together some white, some orange and some red to create a darker sort of brick colour. I put a dash of brown in there as well, just to tone those down. So I think it's looking better. It's looking more like the top section is finished in tarmac, and the bricks at the side, you can see there's some washes of black in there as well. The colour varies as you go along, and it looks it looks better than before. So now I'm just turning my attention to some of the lighting. So here is the canopies upside down. These are the Hornby canopies that you can buy that come with those like clipped together black platforms that you can get. So what I've done is I've repainted them and glued them together so they look like one continuous piece. This is what they look like when you get them. Some of you may remember these. These have been around for years and years. Look very toy-like, like they are here, but a change of colour certainly makes them look more individual and a bit better suited. So I will start adding the lighting to them, and then the bare bones of the platforms are done, and I can focus on some of the fine detail with figures and signage. I'm going to be using LEDs to light the platforms. These are the same warm white LEDs that I use to light coaches. They're 3mm LEDs, and they have a sort of soft white glow to them with a hint of yellow, so they look like that sort of older type of lighting. They're not that sort of clear white or bright blue sort of lighting that you get with modern equipment, so they should go quite nicely with the canopy setup I've got here. So the plan is, using this red wire, is to glue it down along this length like you see here. That way when you're looking down it's hidden underneath the centre section of the canopy, and it's very low profile, so they'll be difficult to spot unless you're really looking at the tops of the canopies from quite a shallow angle. So I'll glue the wire in. I'll have one on each side, so there'll be another one on the other side here, another red one, to try and blend it in. And then what I can do is I can just cut off a little piece of the insulation between the posts and just solder the LEDs in, straddling the two wires, and then that way they're wired in parallel, and hopefully it shouldn't be too obvious. At least that's the plan. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to lightly tack the wire down, make sure it's taut and flat, and see how it looks. Okay, so I've glued in the two wires. Tried to keep them as straight as I can. At the moment they just come out the end like that, and they're quite subtle. When you turn the canopy over into its sort of final position, you can't really tell that they're there. Even when you come to sort of this level, it's difficult to see them because they're red. So they blend in quite well. So now I'm going to solder in the LEDs. And what I've done is I've just nipped off the top layer of insulation where I want the LEDs, and then I'll just solder them in. Okay, I've soldered in all of the LEDs. You can see where I've just stretched the legs out and just put them across the wires. I'll trim the excess off when I'm happy that it's all working. So I've just rigged it up to the 12 volt supply with a 1 kilo ohm resistor. I will be changing the resistors and messing around with the level of brightness, but for now I just want to make sure that they are actually going to work. So we turn on the power supply, you can see the lights all come on. So I think what I'll do is I'll put it on the platform and see how it looks. I don't want them to be too much of like a spotlight. I much prefer a sort of soft glow. I want a subtle level of lighting. Okay, well the canopy's back on. It's looking good. Obviously it is much too bright. I think if you were sitting on that platform you would get a headache rather quickly. So I'm going to play around with the resistors, and I'd like to try and get perhaps half that intensity or maybe even less, because at the moment they're too much like spotlights. You can see the whole platform has like a glow around the edge of that, which platform lighting doesn't usually achieve. Usually it's just the platform that gets a sort of coating of light, and that's it. The lighting systems on platforms is not brilliant, so I'm going to try and dull it down a bit. Okay, it's dulled down some more. It's about half the intensity it was previously, and it's still a little bit too much, like I said, of spotlights. So I'm going to leave it like that for now and carry on. But once I get the platform up into the loft and in the final position where I can test it truly in the dark, I'll play around with the voltages some more. But It is looking quite impressive. Okay, I've started to add some of the finer detail. It's taking a little while to get everything right because I'm using the canopies. But I'm using the Bachmann Scenecraft Station Modernisation Pack, which comes with the little departure screens and the once very common British Rail clock. So I'm just working out on where to put them along the canopies. On the longer platform I've removed one canopy section, just so there is a little bit of platform sticking out the end, just to try and break things up a little bit. But on the whole, it will be mostly canopy. I don't know how well you can see, but on the clocks and the TVs, they have some little lugs on the top. Traditionally, they would have been held up with wire, and I think the tellies were the same sort of thing. Some of them may have actually been bolted to something. But getting them fixed to the canopies is going to be a little bit tricky, so I'm actually using wire myself. So what I've got is the leg of an LED, these LEDs to be exact, when you cut the legs off, and you see you can hook it through the top of the screen, and that then holds it in place. So I've put in the departure screens. You can see the wire just there. I've also put the clocks in. They're looking really good. Same up here as well. I've painted the clocks red as per what Network Southeast did to them. There's probably still a few of those lingering around on the network somewhere. That was a very common sight, seeing the red clocks on the NSE stations. So the canopies are starting to look quite good, but in terms of station furniture, there's not a lot going on. Something that pretty much every station has on the platforms is a waiting room, and it would be appropriate to have some waiting rooms on here. So I've been busy with the plasticard, and I've been building some waiting rooms. So here's the first one, not completely finished yet, still needs various signs adding to it and a little bit of weathering, but that makes a massive change. It's already looking really good. I'll put a couple of figures in there. A bloke waiting to leave. The departure screens and the canopies would be hanging around here, so he could be looking at those. And then there's a lady over here using the vending machine. I've drilled a hole in the middle so I can still fit the canopies, and I've put some seating in there as well. I will be fitting some seated passengers, but I haven't actually got any to hand at the moment. The waiting rooms won't have a roof because the canopy goes over the top of them, so it will be fairly easy to add some seated passengers when I can get hold of some. So we're getting there, but it still needs more. I've got plenty of people I can glue in, and I've also got some of the Bachmann Scenecraft station staff. They're over here actually. There you go. So I've got those guys to put on the station. But something else it needs is signage, platform numbers, Network Southeast branding, and I think some advertising of some description, perhaps some billboards. I could put some billboards, some small ones that you get in the middle of platforms between the two areas where the canopy goes in, and the canopy itself presents a nice rectangle between the two posts. So I think I'll do a bit of research and see if I can make some billboards and also some associated station signage. Okay, so I've printed off some advertising. Quite a lot of it is railway related, obviously, because the model railway, and I've also got some films of the period. All of this Network Southeast advertising is roughly of the period. I've got an intercity one and a nice advert for the Ford Orion. Okay, I've cut out the adverts with a guillotine. I printed them out on glossy photo paper and whacked the printer up to the highest resolution that it can do, and almost all of the text on the adverts is legible. Okay, I've got the billboards and the advertising installed. So now it's still missing more stuff. It's getting there, but more things need to be added. I haven't got any benches at the moment. I want to put a couple of benches in. Not too many though. I don't want to overdo it. But something it really is missing is a large number of people, and it is also missing the associated station signage. Once I've got that in, I think it'll be pretty much ready to go, but it will need a weathering. The canopy needs a weathering, and the brickwork on the waiting rooms also needs weathering. Okay, so I've added a few more bits, and I have replaced the station canopies back on, and things are looking pretty good now. So I've got various figures added, and I've put the station signs relatively evenly spaced. Got some platform numbers on the waiting rooms themselves. I'll be adding some more platform numbers. Done a bit of weathering. Then I've got a few signs, such as that one at the end. It's looking good. I've got the departure screens added in, obviously, which I mentioned earlier. They're looking pretty good. And then the clocks as well, which are painted red. And then I've got the way out signs at various spots. The longer platform is pretty much the same. So I'll be adding some more figures and some more benches in. But on the whole, they're looking a hell of a lot more interesting than they originally did. They look really good with the lights. It's a nice level of light, not too bright. Lights up the waiting rooms quite nicely. And obviously further along the platform as well. And finally, I've done a couple of extra bits. I've weathered the station canopies. I've dulled them down. I've just used a very, very fine wash of Woodland Scenics black paint, and I just wiped off the excess as it was drying. So the effect is quite subtle. I didn't want to go too mad because I do like the way the canopies sort of look, but a bit of weathering always improves things. I filled in the two holes on the end of the longer platform where that extra piece of canopy is no longer needed, so it's pretty much there now. There are a few bits and pieces I want to do to make it look even better, but I haven't actually got those at the moment. I need to put another order in with the model shop and get a few more pieces. I still think it needs a few more people. Probably about double the number of people on each platform, and I might cluster some of them around these departure screens where everyone's fighting to try and find out what time their train leaves and what platform it's on. And it also needs some benches in spots like here and also over here. The benches will definitely add another bit of improvement, but apart from that, I think it's pretty much there, and it's looking a hell of a lot better. So I'll put it back on the layout and then attach the station building, the new station building I've been working on, and overall the whole station should look a lot better than it has looked previously. So that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that it gave you a few hints and tips and perhaps a bit of inspiration for your own station. It really does look a lot better when you compare how it looked when I started off.